This is Sport Talk with your host, Zach Mason.
Hello guys, this is the podcast for Saturday, August 1st. The audio got cut and there was no audio in the first, 8 minutes of it. So this is me talking before the video, just to preface you guys on letting you know that there's no audio. So it'll pick up on me talking about the Marcus Chambers interview, and you didn't really miss much. It was just me enjoying the show, but other than that, I will see you guys on Friday. How it's probably not best that we play sports right now and delay it, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to have fans in the stadiums. We don't know, if we do have fans, are they going to have to sit 6 feet apart, wear masks? I know when we had Baker's graduation, they did hand us masks. Not everybody wore them, but they were still given out as a suggestion. Obviously, they're highly suggested in any situation. But that'll be very interesting to see what they do with the fans if we do end up having a season, which I'm very confident we will have a season. We just don't know what that season will hold. Will they be allowed to be in the stands? For the first part of the season, this is what I think, okay? I think for the first part of the season, they're going to try – this is my personal opinion. So I think what they should do is have no fans, and if they do, mainly parents. I think they should have parents and then maybe like one friend, and that'll be enough people to have people, so it would be kind of an atmosphere, because you always want to have an atmosphere in football. Although in basketball, they're like – I'll get to that later, but if you see on the NBA games, they have the Jumbotrons with the people in it. I think with a couple people, I think they should just have some sort of atmosphere in the stands so the kids can feel like they're playing for something. Because I know, like, when you're at practice, you just sit there all week and you're just not really doing anything. Or you are doing something, but, like, you're not really putting on for anybody except for, like, a practice film that's up in the stands. And I think, back to what I was talking about, what they should do is, for the first part of the season, they should let families, parents, and maybe 1 to 2 friends come in the stadium, and then just distance them 6 feet apart. Like I said, to give them some sort of atmosphere to play in. Because obviously, as you've seen in football, football has a lot to do with the fans and who's cheering, who's booing, what kind of reactions the fans get. Because that, as a football player personally, that gives us a lot of motivation. Because there's one story specifically. My junior year, no, it was my senior year. I remember I played right tackle, and I was blocking somebody, and not trying to brag, but I did put them on their back, and I remember I was laying down, and I remember sitting up, and I was on the 50-yard line, like a perfect scenario. And I just remember looking up at our home stands, and it was just packed with maroon, gold, white, black, whatever color, but it was just packed. And I've never seen a stadium I've never been in front of a stadium like that before. Although it's just little old Baker, the fans are 100% diehard fans because they've been there from the start. And even if you haven't been there from the start, you fall in love with it. And the same thing with Crestview. You see Crestview stadiums packed out every single week, regardless of who they play. So, I mean, obviously the fans have a lot to do with the game. Not only the game with the players, it boosts their energy, gives them motivation to go out and go play the next play. So what they do with the fans will be very, very interesting. And I'm very excited to see when the season starts, how the season will get started. Another thing will be, if they don't allow fans in the stadiums, how will they be able to view the games? One thing I have heard, and one thing me and Ken have talked about off camera, is what is it? Pay-per-view. Sorry, I went blank. It's a pay-per-view. So you pay $7 to pay for the game, and you just watch it on a live stream. I know for Baker fans that didn't go to the state game, or Crestview fans that didn't go to the state game for basketball, they watched it online and they had to pay a fee to watch it, and they just broadcasted it on the screen. The only thing I have an issue, not that I don't have an issue, but I would see an issue being with it, is people would just have watch parties, and they would just pay the $7 and just have a bunch of people there, so they wouldn't really make as much money. And I think the money is going to be a very, very hard. It's going to be an issue a little bit because money is what makes programs run. So you need money to have a program to be able to run, to be able to pay for the kids' food, pay for the buses, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be very excited to see what happens there. If they do have pay-per-view, you will be able to watch me and Ken every home game, listen to us play-by-play, and we'll be live streaming the home games. Away games, I don't know about that. You'll have to do some research or something like that. But other than that, I think that's really it for the Marcus Chambers interview. If I did miss anything, which I probably more than likely did, you can go check it out on Crestview Community Television. They do have it set up to where it's just Ken and Marcus just talking for about an hour. I think it's like 56 minutes. But they talk about, like I said, from the second you get on the bus to the second you get in the classroom, they just talk about every single aspect, what they're going to be doing with the school coming in the fall. So other than that, I think we're going to move on to the next topic, and that is the NBA is back. Yes, the NBA is finally back. The season has started, and I'm very excited because I get to watch live sports again. And the quarantine bubble is going great. I've seen all over social media where they have been talking about how much fun they're having, all the social gatherings they're having. Obviously, they're all wearing masks, all trying to practice social distancing. And I just see all over my Instagram, all over social media, that I see Miles Leonard shotgunning a beer. They're playing golf. They're all they're all fishing, having a great time. So other than that, I think I'm going to go over some of the games that were played. Starting with opening night, the Jazz and the Pelicans. The Jazz won 106-104. I watched that game. That was a very interesting game. Just because we didn't expect Brandon Ingram to be the kind of player he was, especially coming back from this long of a break. But they did lose 106-104. The Lakers and Clippers game, that was a very good game. It was 103-101. It was the last second with like 12 seconds left. LeBron got his own rebound and put it back in, and that was a very good game. And that was all for Thursday's games. Friday's games, Magic won over the Nets 128-118. Suns beat the Wizards 125-112. The Grizzlies beat the Trailblazers, the Trailblazers beat the Grizzlies 140-135. The Bucks beat the Celtics 119-112. The Spurs beat the Kings 129-120. And the Rockets beat the Mavs in an overtime thriller 153-149. 153-149. That's like all-star. That's like all-star game score. Are you kidding me? Okay. Other than that, that's all the games. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's all the games that were played on Friday. Today's games, which a couple of them are going on right now. Some of the later games, I don't have the scores for those. But today, who played were the Heat and Nuggets, the Pelican and Clippers, Jazz and Thunder, 76ers and Pacers, and the Lakers and the Raptors. I don't know who's playing right now, but you can just Google. You can literally open up Google and put in NBA, and it'll give you all the games, the whole schedule, and all that kind of stuff. So I think what the NBA is doing is great. I haven't seen any problems other than really just the Lou Williams situation in the Montrezl Herald and everybody going off and leaving the bubble and then eventually having to come back, and they have to go through a 10-day quarantine. So other than that, I think that's really it for the NBA. There hasn't really been any controversy or anything like that. So I think that we'll see a lot of NBA games. I don't think we'll see many issues. Obviously, there may be a couple of hiccups with the COVID-19. Hopefully, it doesn't spread throughout the whole bubble. Other than that, I think that's really it for the NBA, and I'm excited to see where this goes because it's obviously going good now, but this is only the start, so we'll have to see what happens over the next couple months. Okay, on to MLB. I'm not going to go over the games because that's a lot of games, but I will go over some news that happened earlier this week. Um, Up to 20 players on the Marlins have tested positive for COVID-19. Now, the MLB isn't doing what the NBA is doing or the MLS. They are traveling to everybody's stadiums. So what they're doing is they're traveling and they're getting tested, obviously pretty much almost every day because they're traveling to different cities and all this kind of stuff. They're going home, seeing their families. So it's a very high risk situation. So that there have been 20 Marlins players that tested positive. Sources say they were out in Atlanta having a good time. I heard they were out in bars, but those haven't been confirmed. There are sources, but we don't know how reliable those sources are. So they're obviously not following MLB protocol for safety guidelines. What does this mean for the NBA, NFL? I wrote that down as a question. I don't think it's going to have a big impact on the NBA because it's been going so well. But the NFL, it might have a different question because the NFL might look at it because they have no idea what's going to happen for the season. So I think what is going to happen is they're going to try and form some sort of bubble. We never know. I have no clue. But I guess we'll see. I don't know what kind of bubble they would be able to do because obviously we've seen success with it with the NBA, but they just play so many games. I don't know how that would work because the NBA is a different situation because they were so far deep into their season, they already knew who had the playoffs. They already knew who was going to be close to competing for the playoffs, so they just took those teams and they just brought them with them. And they were like, all right, these teams and these teams from each conference come to the bubble, and then we'll duke it out, see who wins. But with the NFL and the MLB, it's kind of a different situation. You can't really put 32 teams in a bubble because that's a lot of players, and that's a lot of exposure just in case somebody does end up being positive. You don't know who is positive and who isn't. So we don't really know what's going to happen with the NFL. We don't really know what's going to happen with the MLB either because I think it was just the Marlins players. I don't think anybody else got any what is it? Exposure. My mind went blank again. But I think the NFL should go to a bubble. I don't know how they would, but maybe. Okay, this is another thing that I was thinking about. So it's kind of difficult because the MLB local TV airs their games because obviously you can't air so many games on ESPN throughout the day because that just can't happen, especially with NBA going on still. And they were thinking about doing a bubble in Arizona and Florida. Those are their two options. So what I personally think they should do is have two bubbles and say, these teams, this is your home field. These teams, this is your home field, and then we'll travel that way. That's our only set of travel. So that splits up the teams and splits up the amount of exposure. And I think that they should work it out that way. But who am I to say what the MLB, a billion-dollar corporation, does? But I think that's just how they should do it. But I don't know. I think that's how the NFL should do it as well. I forgot to say that. But who knows? I think personally that would be a good idea. But we don't know how that would play out because of local TV and airing games and all that kind of stuff. especially with the NFL. I don't know if the NFL's local TV is who airs their games because that's how MLB makes their money. But I know obviously NFL has like NFL Red Zone and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's a tough situation because you got 32 teams for the NFL and I don't remember how many teams for the MLB, but that's just a lot of people in one little bubble. And as far as we've seen, that's the only way it'll really work. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens because the NFL is coming up here pretty soon, and the MLB, we don't know what's going to happen with them. I think they're trying to be as safe as they possibly can, but with players being irresponsible like this, obviously, yes, you can't just be stuck up in a bubble the whole time, but if you are getting the free reign to travel to other people's home fields, you should be responsible enough to not just, hey, let's just go out and have a good time. We won't catch nothing. We won't get it. We won't catch a global pandemic, you know? Just don't be an idiot, I guess you could say. Okay, next topic. Last Chance U. For those of you who don't know what Last Chance U is, it's a Netflix documentary series that comes out during this time every year, coming into football season, but there's no football season quite just yet. But I always get excited every year for Last Chance U because I absolutely love this show. I've already watched the whole season. Actually, I lied. I have like 2 episodes left I gotta watch, but it's a short series, so it's not really like a 20 episode season or whatever like that, like a normal Netflix season will be on a show. This is like a once a year season. It's so basically what Last Chance U is, for those of you who don't know, and for those of you who do know, it's out on Netflix right now. You can watch this right after you get done watching this show. So for those of you who don't know what Last Chance U is, it's basically a documentary series on junior college football. Next year they're going to be doing a basketball season. I don't know how long they're going to be doing basketball, but I know they're for the last 5 years now they've been doing football, and it's always one of the highest rated Netflix documentary series just because of how in depth it goes into the life of a junior college football player or just a college football player in general, because some people may not know what goes on in the day of a life of a college student, and especially nowadays. And I think, okay, sorry, got off track for a second. What Last Chance U is, it's a Netflix documentary series that it's a documentary series of a junior college. They picked different colleges. They started out in Mississippi, and it was they were one of the best junior colleges in the nation. Then they went on to Kansas. I think it's just these 2 colleges. I'm pretty sure so far. I don't remember. All I know is these 2 for sure colleges. Yeah. Mississippi, and now they're in Kansas. Not now, but last season they were in Kansas, and that was probably one of the most popular seasons in my opinion, one of the best seasons. That was my favorite season last season. And they basically go in the life of a junior college player. And what it goes into is like, it's very in-depth, it's very uncensored, so if you don't feel comfortable watching uncensored stuff, then it's probably not the show for you, because I will be honest with you, they do drop F-bombs and F-songs and every single cuss word in the book. They will drop it every 5 seconds. So that's kind of the downside of it. But if you don't mind it, then what Last Chance U is it's just a documentary series. And what's so different about this season, what I personally think will be their best season so far, and probably their best season to come, unless they just pull something out in the next couple years, is this season's very different, because basically these players come from absolutely nothing. This year it's in California. It's in Oakland, California, in Lansing College. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. because it's a junior college in Oakland, California. But sorry, what's so different about this is they come from nothing because sorry, they come from nothing because they don't have scholarship money. The state of California junior college conference is not allowed to give scholarship money to players, so they basically have to pay out of pocket. And in Oakland, California, it's not really the most economically stable. So some players are living in their cars. Some people live 2 hours away with their families, or 2 hours away just because that's the only place they could stay at. Some people, like I said, live in their cars, so they just find one of the residence area parking lots and they sleep in their car, and then they wake up and go to class, go to practice, go to Burger King or wherever they work from 8 to midnight, go back to their car, go to sleep, do it all over again. And some people have wife and kids. There's one specific player that they do a spotlight on that he has a wife and 2 little girls. He had his first girl at 17, and the other one was just born. She just turned 1, or she had just turned 1. So he's very young, and he already has 2 kids, and he doesn't have the money for college and kids and a wife and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, they all come from nothing, and they all come from different backgrounds and very rough backgrounds. And it's a very tough situation because we can't really step into those kind of shoes. Most of us can't really step into those kind of shoes because we've never really been put in that kind of situation. Not me personally, because I've always had a loving family and I've always been in such a great situation that I've been blessed to have. But like I said, they don't give out scholarships, so they can't just go and play football for free and all that kind of stuff like the other seasons. So that's how it separates from the other seasons. It's because the other seasons, they can get out-of-state recruits to come in there and play football for them for free. So they can get some of the best JUCO athletes in the nation, and they can get them to transfer to college, or to, like last season they were called Independence. They can get them to transfer to Independence, and they can have a full ride, everything paid for, nothing to worry about. They'll have housing and all that kind of stuff, good food, free food and all that kind of stuff, because they're getting it paid for. But this season, they're living in Oakland, California, where, like I said, they can't get scholarship money, so they have to pay for everything out of pocket, and some people don't have the money for college out of pocket. So it's a very rough situation because some people are living paycheck to paycheck just to pay their tuition. They can't pay anything else. They can't pay for housing. They can't pay for food. Some people don't even eat they only eat maybe 1 meal a day. They can't eat 2-3 meals a day like the rest of us can, just because they got to pay for school. And it's a very tough situation, like I said. They all came from high school, which I think is also very different from the previous seasons, because some people in the previous seasons, they come from other D1 schools because they got in some trouble. Or some people are just transferring their JUCOs because they got in some trouble. They're all just big egos and just don't know what they're doing because they're just being idiots, and they think they're this some big time star that they just think that their stuff don't stink. I'm gonna use a lack of a better term. Like I said, they come from high school, so they are very scrappy, and they will tell you that in the very first episode. That's one of the first things I got out of it. They're very scrappy, and they work their absolute tails off. So that's and you can see it throughout the other episodes. You can see some of the players, they just work and work and work, and you absolutely love to just watch a kid work and get better every single week. There's one specific kid, his name's Dior, and he's the kid that lives in the car, and he just absolutely works. And I love watching him, and I loved his spotlight, and they interviewed him because he doesn't come from the best background, but he's actually the best player on the team, and I'll get to that in a second. this is also, I'll try to relate this to high school a little bit. High school football, I'll try to relate it to it in a way. So high school football, you wake up, not necessarily in a car or anything like that, but I'll wake up in my bed that's behind this screen. Wake up, go to school, go to class, go to practice, go home. It's just like what they have this season. You wake up, go to school, go to class, go to practice, go home. Now, like with a D1 school, you have all this other kind of stuff. You wake up, 6 a.m. workouts, go to class, maybe got a media thing, maybe got some interviews to do, practice, then you got a whole bunch of meetings and all this kind of stuff. So this season's very relatable. Hey guys, me again. So my internet went out, or the live stream got shut off, so this is me picking back up. We started it again, and this is me basically just wrapping up the show. Adversity, I'll just pick up where I left off. The adversity for the adversity for Last Chance U. They lost their 3 quarterbacks, like I said, and their Dior guy, he picked up and he was their quarterback because he played quarterback in high school, so that was really their only option. And he knew how to take a snap, he knew how to throw a ball, and he knew how to read a play and all that kind of stuff. So they knew what to do there, or he knew what to do there, and it was a very tough challenge from going to wide receiver to quarterback, especially in a college level. Regardless if it was a D1, D2, JUCO, D3, it's still a college level offense and defense. So it's a difficult situation for him because he's trying to read plays. He has way better athletes he's going up against, not just some corner, but he has to read linebackers, read defensive linemen that are coming in on a blitz or coming in on a stun, a cross stun or something like that, or he has to read a safety that's going to roll over top, or if a corner's going to be playing press, or if he's going to play man, or if he's going to drop back in coverage. So it's a lot to think about other than just lining up, running a route, beating a press, beating a push or something like that, and just going up and making a play. For the quarterback, you have to make a play every single play. So that's a lot more difficult, especially at a college level. So that's a kind of a adversity standpoint. And I tried not to do too much spoiling, just so I wouldn't ruin the show for anybody who is actually looking forward to watching the show. Or maybe if I influenced you into watching the show, maybe I just I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I messed somebody up there. But if I did spoil it in any kind of way, I apologize. But I tried to keep as much to myself because obviously, as you can see, I'm very excited for the show because I wait every single year and I always get so disappointed because I watch the entire show in 2 days and then I have to wait a whole nother year to watch the show again, and then I'll just watch it in 2 days. And it just depends on how good they do in the season. Depends on how long how good they do in the football season. Depends on how long that season is for the show, because they'll try to extend the shows just to give it a little bit more drama and all that kind of stuff. But they did actually go and win they call it a state championship. They did actually win the JUCO championship for California that previous season. So going into that season, they were all very excited. But all right, I'm done. I'm not going to spoil it anymore. I can't. Okay, one more thing. It is a good refresher for us to get motivated for not only Last Chance U, for people who have watched it and they're veterans for it. It is a good refresher for us to get excited for high school football and just to look at the positives, look at what we're looking forward to. I was actually walking outside yesterday, and I don't know what it was, but I just looked outside, and I was just like, this is football weather. And especially in Florida, this is football weather. And I don't know why. I think it's just because I've played football my entire life, but I think it just made me feel good, because this is the time of year that I always get excited for, not only if I'm playing, but especially last year, because I was like, I get to watch football. I don't get to have to be so worried about it every week. Sorry. I get to actually watch it, and I think it's a good refresher, like I said, just for us to get excited for football, because we're always not always, we're just sitting here looking at the COVID, how it's pushing us back, how it's holding us back from being able to watch football. But like I said, this season especially is a really good refresher of high school football, because it relates to a lot of things in football, because maybe some people who don't know, they are struggling in high school and they have to wake up every day, go to class, go to practice, and all this kind of stuff. So once again, it is a really good refresher. So if you want to go check that out, it is on Netflix. It's called Last Chance U, Season 5. If you do want to go watch Seasons 1 through 5, you'll probably, if you get addicted to it, you'll watch it all within maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. Depends on what your binge schedule is for Netflix. But other than that, I think that's it for this show for this week. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I do apologize for it being on so late this Saturday night. Like I said, here in the next couple weeks, we're going to try to get a firm schedule, especially after the selection, when everything's calmed down. We will try to get we will try to get a for sure time. I'll talk to Ken about that here soon, and we will be able to be live in the studio or here with my beautiful white background every Friday at said time. So I want to thank you guys for listening today. This has been Saturday, August 1st, 2020. Everybody get ready for August, because football is coming up and school is starting. We're going to have a school season or school year, and we're going to have football season. We just have to be patient. Don't you guys worry. And I'm very excited. So thank you guys for listening. This has been Saturday, August 1st, 2020. And thanks, guys. See you next Friday.
This is Sport Talk with your host, Zach Mason.